Welcome to part 2 of our 2023 Baltic cruise on Sky Princess. In this episode we visit Gdynia, Visby and Tallinn. Started our day as usual with bread rolls, orange juice and a hot drink. We noticed that Tom, our cruise monkey, had been joined by a towel dog at some point. We hadn't noticed it the night before. Sailing into Gdynia in Poland, our first stop of the cruise. We're due to dock at 10 o'clock, but it's just after 9 o'clock now, so we may be a little early. Weather's a lot better today than it was yesterday. Looks like we might have some sunshine today. And here comes the pilot boat. The progress into Gdynia seemed rather tricky, with lots of breakwaters, and by the time we docked it was nearly 11:15. A lot of passengers took an excursion to Gdansk, but we decided to have a gentler day and took a shuttle bus to a shopping centre in Gdynia. We had drinks at the KFC, had a general wander round and bought some very posh chocolates. Judging by the little we saw of Gdynia from the shuttle bus, it seemed quite austere and dilapidated. Back on board, we had a look through the event listing. In the afternoon, we picked up some cheese and ham paninis from the International Cafe and took them to Princess Live, where we had more cocktails and won the trivia quiz with a score of 15 out of 20. Here's Tom guarding our prize of 2 notebooks. We had a meal in the Estrella main dining room. After our meal, we headed to Princess Live, where we took part in a couple of quizzes and watched a version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with very small prizes instead of money. By this stage of the cruise, Subhash knew what we liked to drink, but was ready with suggestions if we fancied a change. Eventually, we had enough to drink to give karaoke a go. This was Jill's first karaoke ever. Videoing by Alwyn, one of the entertainment staff.
Nobody knows it, so don't misunderstand me.
After the karaoke, we headed for bed. We decided to take the shuttle bus into Visby and set off quite early for us, but even so it was late enough for some people to have already returned to the ship. There were actually two shuttle buses, one to Osterport and one to Almedalen. We decided to take the one to Osterport, which is at the top of the town, and walk down to Almedalen and return from there. Visby is a UNESCO World Heritage Site on the Swedish island of Gotland, which occupies a strategic position in the Baltic. The centre of Visby is pedestrianised and cobbled with many old buildings. We walked down through the town buying fridge magnets and a t-shirt along the way. After a while we came to a square with restaurants and cafes around the edge and with a market in the middle. After spending a little while in the market, we headed on down the hill. I stopped to make sure I could fit under the archway ahead. We soon arrived at Almedalen Park and came across this memorial to Olof Palme, the Swedish Prime Minister who was assassinated in 1986. Palme started the tradition of Almedalen Week. Every year in the first week of July, Sweden's political parties come to the park for seminars, debates and political speeches on current social issues. At the bottom of the park, we came to the seafront. We could see a cruise ship in the distance, but decided it was further than it looked and caught the shuttle bus back. We went to another quiz in Princess Live, this time with coffees rather than cocktails. At 5:30 we went for a meal in the Soleil main dining room. Service was very slow. By 7:20 we still hadn't had our dessert. We spent the evening in Princess Live with 3 more quizzes and returned to the cabin to find this. We were up bright and early having our normal in-cabin breakfast, but it still managed to be after 11 before we stepped ashore. Greeting passengers off the ships was the cruise terminal's mascot. We took a shuttle bus into Tallinn and were dropped off a 5-minute walk from the Viru gate, which leads into the old town. After a short stop to look at a map we'd been given, we were on our way into the old town. This is a memorial to the founder of the Tallinn Voluntary Fire Brigade. Having a museum of torture next to a karaoke bar seemed appropriate. We saw several people dressed in medieval costume. There are several museums in the old town. This is the Museum of Knightly Orders. Jill sat on the wall by this church while I walked up to a high point marked on the map. I passed this strange little shop along the way. It was a steady climb, and I thought I'd gone quite a long way until I turned and saw the church was not far behind me. Throughout the old town there are many descriptive plaques which have an English translation. When I reached the top, there was a courtyard area with these bronze statues. There were good views of the rooftops of the old town and the church. Up here was the Danish King's Garden and access to the town walls, but I thought I'd better get down to Jill. By the time I reached her, it had started to drizzle and we took refuge in a cafe. I had a coffee and Jill had a house lemonade cocktail which turned out to be lemonade and grenadine. The rain didn't last long and we were off exploring again. We soon found the town square, which had restaurants, cafes and a few shops around the edge and lots of well-labelled plants in the centre. We bought some fridge magnets and a t-shirt in this shop. We decided to return to the ship and headed back towards the shuttle bus stop. This creature was drumming up trade for a sweet shop. Back on the main road, we spotted a hop-on, hop-off bus. These don't visit the old town, but there are other things to visit in Tallinn. Back at the cruise terminal, as well as Sky Princess, there was the Seven Seas Splendor and this ship. Used to be the Aida Vita, but came out of service shortly before COVID lockdown. At the time this picture was taken, it was known as the Avitak. Its then owners never brought it into service. It was bought in January 2023 by a Chinese company, remained in Tallinn until January 26, 2024, then set out for China, where it will be known as the Blue Dream Melody. These markings on the side of Sky Princess are a warning to small boats. The 3 circles with crosses show the position of thrusters, and the 4th mark shows that the bow sticks out further below the surface. Back on board, we went to Gelato and tried the premium desserts that Princess had been making a lot of fuss over. They came free in our package, but would have been $12. We felt they weren't worth the fuss or the money, especially considering what was available at a more reasonable price. Strangely, we would have had to pay for those. After a while resting in our cabin, we went on deck and had a couple of slices of pizza and a cappuccino and hot chocolate and later some chips while watching the Jabeur Zablenka Wimbledon semi-final. Afterwards, we went back to Princess Live for Wizarding World Trivia. We spent another long evening in Princess Live doing quizzes and watching a game show. By now the staff remembered our names and cabin number. We rounded off the evening with karaoke. This time we did Send in the Clowns, thankfully not recorded here. Thanks for watching. We'd be very grateful if you liked and subscribed.